Girl, y'all might need to sit down for this because the streets are saying that Diggy Simmons might just be another one of Diddy's alleged victims. Child, it's like every time we think we've gotten to the end of this list of alleged victims, more pop out and it's starting to look like we're never getting to the bottom of this. Remember when Diggy Simmons was everywhere and it felt like he was the next big thing? One minute he was climbing the charts and killing every performance, then the next thing he was gone. Well, after all this time, it looks like the truth is finally starting to surface. And let's just say the reason he backed out of the spotlight might not be what you expected. Word is he didn't just step away, he might have been pushed out. Fans are speculating that Diggy didn't leave the music world on his own terms. He may have been buried or pressured out even while he was thriving and had major names in his corner. It's wild to think about, especially since everything was lining up for him to be a household name. So what really went down behind the scenes? The details are messy and honestly, the story paints a whole different picture of what we thought was just a quiet exit, so let's get right into it. Okay, so let's take it back for a minute. Diggy Simmons didn't just stumble into the music industry. He was basically born into it. His dad is Rev Run from the legendary Run DMC, and his uncle is Russell Simmons, the guy who co-founded Def Jam. So yeah, Diggy grew up surrounded by hip-hop royalty, which made it pretty natural for him to step into the spotlight himself. One of the first moves he made was joining this group called the All City Chess Club. It has some big names in it like Pharrell Williams, J. Cole, and a few others, and Diggy was just 15 at the time. That alone tells you he has something special. Sure, being a Nepo baby helped him get into the room, but his talent made people pay attention. However, the group didn't last long. They dropped one song and then pretty much disappeared. No one really knows why it ended, but honestly, it didn't slow Diggy down. He was already doing his own thing and kept the momentum going. Back in 2009, when Diggy was just 14 or 15, he released his first mixtape, The First Flight. He wasn't signed yet, and this was before streaming really took over, so he uploaded it to his personal blog, and it took off almost right away. And let's be real, being on Run's house probably gave him a bit of a head start. A lot of people already knew him as Rev Run's son from the MTV show, so when he started dropping music, fans were curious and ready to see what he could do. Anywho, the mixtape got more than 100,000 downloads from his blog, and he became hotcake in the industry because labels were dying to sign him. Speaking in an interview, he said, "The way I started everything was just personal. I was just recording songs by myself and it escalated to my friends being like, this stuff is good. Take it serious. So I did. I put some stuff up on YouTube. And this was the blog era. So I just kept making connections and meeting people on Twitter." According to reports, more than 5 labels were trying to sign Diggy, but he ended up signing with Atlantic Records, which turned out to be a smart move. His buzz just kept growing. In 2010, he dropped a freestyle over Nas's classic Made You Look, and it went crazy. The track blew up so much that even Kanye and Nas gave him props. Not bad for a teenager. That same year, he released his second mixtape, Airborne, which was another win. Then in 2011, he followed up with Past, Present, and Future, and once again, people loved it. At that point, it felt like Diggy was on a roll. Hit after hit proved he was way more than just a Nepo baby. By summer 2011, he was hitting stages across the country on BET's 106 in Park, Closer to My Dreams tour, performing alongside Tyga, Mac Miller, Mindless Behavior, and Lil Twist. He clearly loved to tour because later that year, he joined the Scream Next Generation tour with Mindless Behavior, Jacob Lattimore, New Boys, and OMG Girls. Diggy dropped his debut album, Unexpected Arrival, in 2012, and once again, it was a hit. What's wild is he was still a kid. He turned 17 the day after the album came out. Even at that age, the project debuted at number 13 on the Billboard 200, and he ended up winning a NAACP award and a BET award. He also got into acting not long after, and most people probably know him now as Doug from Grownish. So yeah, Diggy was doing a lot, balancing music, acting, and growing up in the public eye. But during the height of his music career, the pressure was more than just the usual fame stuff. Being called a Nepo baby definitely added extra pressure. Even though he was out there proving himself, some folks couldn't see past his last name. Diggy grew up surrounded by hip-hop legends. His dad is Rev Run from Run DMC, and his uncle is Russell Simmons, the guy who founded Def Jam Records. But instead of being celebrated for his background, a lot of people wrote him off as just riding his family name. Critics said that even though he rapped about street life, he didn't have the real street cred to back it up. Because he grew up with privilege, some felt like he hadn't had to grind as hard as other artists who came up from nothing, fighting for every chance. Many believed his family's connections were what really opened doors for him. Diggy tried to ignore all the Nepo baby talk, knowing it was out there, but it clearly affected him. He did his best to keep his head down and focus on the music, but the negativity weighed on him. Then out of nowhere, he disappeared from the scene. One minute he was riding high, and the next he was gone, leaving fans and people in the industry wondering what really happened behind the scenes. Even though Diggy kept acting and landed a pretty solid role on Grownish, his music career just kind of went on the pause for a long time. He didn't really talk about why he stepped away until recently when he finally opened up. Turns out, all the constant hate and being called a Nepo baby really got to him. It affected his mental health more than people realized. Diggy said the negativity actually played a part in him developing OCD. He struggled a lot with feeling like he didn't deserve the success he had and dealt with a lot of guilt and self-doubt. In the end, then the pressure became too much and he chose to step back and focus on taking care of himself. The criticism wasn't just background noise, it was overwhelming and ended up pushing him away from a music career that has so much promise. In an Instagram post, he said, "I haven't released a music project in 6 years, all due to overthinking my ideas, my OCD, being too invested in the unknown, and the fear of uncertain outcomes. For years, I let my irrationalities and the negative perceptions of others overcome what I perceived of myself." In an interview, he also said, "I could always rap and always like to rap, but I strayed away from it completely. I didn't want people thinking I was doing this just because of my family. I've been in a time period of self-discovery and just becoming better mentally, coming into myself as an adult," he explains. "It's a transitional period, you know. After I released my first album, I had to take that time to myself and at the same time lay low and not overthink the creative process." Sure, Diggy is a Nepo baby, but the thing is, there are two kinds. Some ride entirely on their family name with success that doesn't really match their talent. Then there are those who actually have the skills and their family connections just helped open doors, not carry them all the way. Honestly, most Nepo babies fall into that first group. You know who I'm talking about, no need to name names. Diggy is definitely in a second camp. The guy's got talent and his success proves it. He built a solid fan base and found real success while he was still a kid. That doesn't happen just because of a famous last name. Sure, having Rev Run as a dad gave him a boost, but it was Diggy's skills and hustle that got him to where he was. He wasn't just riding on the family legacy or leaning on connections to stay relevant. But wait, the streets are buzzing with some wild rumors. You think being Rev Run's son would give Diggy some kind of protection against the craziness in the music world, right? Nope, not quite. Fans are now speculating that the real reason Diggy stepped away from the industry was because Diddy allegedly tried to turn him out. Unfortunately, hearing about Diddy doing shady stuff to young guys in the industry isn't all that surprising anymore. With so many allegations floating around, it's honestly tough to keep track of it all. The interesting thing is that police have actually been investigating Diddy for his alleged activities with young boys for over 10 years now. Back in 2013, there were reports that authorities were looking into him and questioning people in the industry about his dealings with young boys. According to reports, during a debriefing session with federal investigators, James Roseman, the music manager turned kingpin, was reportedly questioned about the preferences of entertainers, including whether Sean Diddy Combs was having intimate relationships with underage boys. And now, word on the streets is that Diggy might have allegedly been a victim of Diddy's alleged activities. There have been rumors of Diddy allegedly using young boys who were trying to get their big breaks in the industry. We're talking young men who were trying to become the next big rapper in the industry. Names like Bashir Gray, YK Osiris, and Orlando Brown have been rumored to have been allegedly used by Diddy, and now the streets are speculating that Diggy might have been another victim. Now, we don't know if Rev Run knew what was going on at the time and the real reason that Diggy chose to leave, but it's highly unlikely because if there's one thing that we know about Rev Run, it's that he doesn't play when it comes to family, and he would have turned Diddy every way but loose if he found out that he was trying to mess with his son. Unfortunately, the victims don't always speak out, especially when the offender is someone as powerful as Diddy, and it explains why Diggy chose to protect his peace and leave the industry, especially since he was also getting bullied for being a Nepo baby. This is a heartbreaking situation, but y'all drop your thoughts in the comments and then check out this next video.